The newly appointed chairman of SEBI on March 1st outlined 4 key objectives for SEBI: trust, transparency, technology, and teamwork. And today we have a 5th T to elaborate on this. The author of all these statements, Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, the new SEBI chairman. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Well, let me first start with the trust and the transparency part. The previous chairman had already set in motion the controls on F&O. We saw the first tranche of controls came in, only 1 expiry per week per exchange. We are eagerly awaiting the second set of rules. When do you think we will hear of it, and what will be the main, constraints, if any?
I think the SEBI had put out a consultation paper,
yes,
and we received about 800 comments.
Yeah.
Some supporting the position, some suggesting some alternatives, something in between. So we will take a considered view and will come. Basic premise is that we should make systemic improvements and also provide, while the F&O market is very important market for price discovery, for hedging, we also don't want it to be, like reduced to one single problem that we were facing on index options on the expiry day. Yeah. That was our key problem area. So therefore, we need to, clearly define the risk metric, and we are trying to, we'll bring the delta in terms of, the options.
Yeah, I thought it was more, besides the risk metric, the end of day counting of options or intraday. And it is now, look, I mean, there were enough articles written on it that the intraday positions are so high that some limits need to be put, and the limits should not only be on end of day. So should we expect that there will be intraday limits? Because that's where the HFTs seem to be taking the game away.
I think we will have to take a clear call on not really exactly what we had proposed in the paper, but exactly what will be more practicable, and taking into consideration all factors. So we will bring about necessary changes accordingly.
Okay, you can't give us any clue on whether it would be intraday or end of day limits?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right. Let me come to the other issue that is rankling the market on this trust transparency issues, and that is this SME IPO, sir. I mean, we have seen Gensol is now. Just before that, we had that, I think it was what, Trifactor Technologies. There are enough number of SME IPOs. Are there some new rules being written? There is an inherent conflict. When you ask the exchanges to control them, they make money out of them. So it doesn't seem to be an effective, they don't seem to be functioning as a first line of control.
I think one of the objectives of bringing SME IPO are a little light touch regulation for them was exactly to facilitate the SMEs to access capital markets, where the cost of accessing we have to see the cost is relatively down, and it is easier for them to access capital markets. So I mean, we have a very large number of SMEs, and so therefore in order to enable them to do that, whether we could have the same onerous requirements as the main board was the issue. And it was, so I think we are watchful if there are certain aspects where we have, for example, brought in some changes in terms of profitability criteria, in terms of usage and deployment of funds post IPO, also on the fact that this money cannot be simply used by loan repayment of the promoters. But I think the merchant bankers, they need to do a better thing on this, and we expect
But do you expect it to remain with the exchanges because there seems to be a conflict of interest?
I don't think that is, in a way, in any in anything, even if it is approved by the SEBI, the exchanges will have to be paid their fees. So therefore, the transactions will have to be carried out in the exchanges. Okay. So only the processing part, like, you know, clearing the document, that was what something which was SEBI passed it on to. But we will be watchful of the situation, and if we find that, yeah, if we find that, you know, this is a very widespread phenomenon, even after whatever the changes that we have anticipated, then we will review it.
The second tranche of F&O rules, when should we expect it?
Well, I can't give you the deadline, but...
No, I mean in a month,
yeah,
even a broad ballpark.
I mean, I think very shortly, yes. Within a month, I think we should be able to arrive at, yes.
Okay. Now let me come to the other issue that you have already announced as one of your first announcements, this conflict of interest disclosures by for SEBI's own officers. Do you notice any gaps in the current disclosures?
Well, this is not only for SEBI's officers, but also about the SEBI board members, yes, including chairman.
Yes.
So the gap is, I think, you know, one is 2008. This was set for the board members. Then there are ESR regulations, which are even older, which is employees service regulations. There are certain disclosures which are made within. There's certain conflict of interest clauses are being applied within. People are recusing. However, there is very little public exposure. There is in fact no public disclosure of the conflict of interest. Even we don't have even disclosures of properties and other things. None of them,
even other government officials don't disclose to us. It is to the appointments committee or whoever they disclose. We don't get to hear.
No, but at least some disclosures are there. Even, for example, the property returns, the immovable property, even for all government servant, is out. And I think SEBI also is also a, you know, slightly a regulator where we find that we should be more proactive in terms of, you know, this regime. And secondly, we also need to have comfort for those who are working within SEBI as to how they need to conduct, you know, in many cases, you know.
You mean the lateral entrance?
Not only lateral entrance, even the people who are employees, they also need to, when they are passing orders or, you know, dealing with the case. They
need to know.
They need to very clearly know where it will fit. So I think we have to update that particular, both the ESR and the board resolution. Secondly, we also need to have a framework how they would be recorded, because we need to know who has recused for what and rationale, so that have some database, and also have public disclosures.
Okay, so that is a big thing. So you expect that it will be a public.
So public disclosures, to what extent the public disclosure should be made, in what cases should be made, how, you know, it could be mitigated. Suppose somebody seeks the thing, then how that particular complaint, etc., could be processed. If there is a, I mean, we will, the committee obviously will look at the best practices in for other regulators in the world as well. And I think we will be pushing forward this important subject.
The fundamental difference will be that you will make things more public.
I think both. We have to also need to have more clarity internally as to how they will rest, how they will be processed.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you know, you've made repeatedly a statement that there is a compliance burden. Are you of the view that SEBI is over-regulating?
I think so. I think in many areas we can have a much simpler regulation. Many regulations were, you know, contextual in nature, and some of them have been changed also. For example, LODR was completely changed in 2018. Similarly, other the regulations were updated, but not all of them. So therefore, there is a need for relook at the regulations. Many times context have changed. Many times, you know, a better way of regulation may have come simply because you have a better technology now.
No, my fear is that as it is, there are scams. I mean, we had Gensol, like I told you, there were 2 or 3 SME IPOs. Even if I do a Google for the last quarter, we have seen 3 or 4 scams come out. It doesn't look like over-regulation. It looks like more regulation is needed.
No, I mean, simply you write a regulation doesn't mean that it is there is a difference between implementation and a regulation. That is what the effectiveness of regulation is. Like wherever the risk is higher, that is where we have to concentrate. If we try and ask too much of micro, that may not be our game. Secondly, we also have to clearly say that we can't be in every boardroom. So the question is it asking too much of a tick boxing? In many a case, it is a false disclosure. The disclosure will come, but that's false.
Yes, that's what we discovered.
So therefore, what we need to do is how effectively you can have a check and balance where these disclosures are stemmed in the bud.
But is there a feeling in government that there is over-regulation? Because that seems to be the general feeling that, and I think it also may kind of demoralize people within SEBI also. If you're constantly told that you have, you've overdone, you're over-regulated.
No, SEBI,
doesn't it?
Number one, this is not something that I'm telling SEBI. All our staff are fully engaged and energized into re-looking at things. Many a time they have been feeling also. See, the question is, it's like a spring cleaning. Many a time what happens is when you are in your house, and not that, this is something which is happening for the first time. I must give credit to successive leadership in the SEBI that from time to time they have re-looked at it, they have contextualized it, they have brought in new regulations, they have, shed the old. So it's not something that, like it is like spring cleaning. Every time you keep on doing it, every Diwali you want to do it something and then you accumulate and then you shed also and you contextualize. This is something which is exercise which is really being done by all the divisions. I mean, they have begun it. They are enthusiastically doing it in terms of, because it is also when you are having a regulation, and if there is too much of information, then you have to also process too much of information. If you just bring that information and just keep it rest, then what's the point? So therefore, they would also like to be, they would like to be smarter. So I think SEBI wants to be a smart regulator.
Okay. Well, let me come to the other issue of, ASBA for secondary market. This blocking of the amount for primary markets was done for IPOs, and we were expecting it will happen in the secondary market. Is that something which is on the anvil?
Yeah, we are looking into it.
Okay.
We are looking into it.
But will it take a long time?
I will let you know. I mean, I just have to take a stock of the situation.
Because the brokerages are sitting on a lot of money. There was somebody the other day who said that some 4.5 lakh crore of, customer idle funds are sitting with custodians, with brokerages. I mean, why are people able to offer zero brokerage? Because float is there, they're making money on that. So will ASBA in secondary market be a priority for SEBI?
No, I think we have to really see the whole ecosystem moves together.
Okay.
And as you say that, the level of float has come substantially down in our system. The India itself, took a lead in going to T+1 settlement. US has now followed suit. Several jurisdictions. I was in US and we had a meeting with several security regulator in the context of the IMF ISCO spring meetings. And there are many people who are still in a much different regime.
But it is under consideration. Should we expect some rules?
Yes, I mean, it's under examination, as I said.
Okay. Let me take a quick break, sir. Back with a few more questions. In fact, lots more questions to the SEBI channel.